Devil in a red dress. Call 911, I'm a killer. You know I hate to confess. Bang, bang, got my hand on the trigger. The devil in a red dress. Call 911, I'm a killer. You know I hate to confess. Bang, bang, got my hand. Call
What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Man, it's good to be back. I want to go ahead and jump into this. I got to be honest. I was kind of torn to stream or not to stream because of everything that's going on in the media, and I'm still going to be taking a little time off. I'm probably going to miss at least a couple shows next week, but tonight was the perfect night to do it, even though we did it late because the speech and all the stuff that's going on right now. Because you got to study what's going on, right? The information that they're laying before you. There's little clues everywhere. Anyway, but tonight we're gonna do two shows, and the first show, I kind of want to give you guys um, a little bit more information of what's going on, and tonight's stream is going to be dedicated to my father, and we're going to run this, and then we're going to end it, start up a new one, come right back, and we're going to talk everything that's been going on in the world. Because holy moly, man, the last week and some change has been crazy, and we want to talk about those topics, but we don't want to. I don't know. I don't want to muddy the waters of me intentionally like telling you guys what's been going on, and um, dilute it with. I just want to dedicate this to my father and tell you guys what's happened, and fill in some of the blanks, and then I'll let this thing do what it do, and then we'll start a new one and go from there. So, because a lot of people have been hitting me up, and first I want to say thank you so much. All of you guys, this community that we have that we've built, bro. The amount of support that I've had, the messages, the emails, the just everyone coming out and being supportive and, showing love and just sending their sympathy and condolences, and even through other people, because they're like, yo, I want to give Darkest space. And I just want to say thank you so much. Like, I have so much gratitude for all of you guys, almost every single person, at least in here and way beyond, even other companies, man. JST Supply and Gideon, bro, they sent me food, snacks, treats, honey baked ham, sodas, all this stuff, man. I could not believe it, man. And I just want to say thank you to everyone that did that. So thank you, everything, right? Drew, man, there was also some people that knew, taking a bunch of time off away from the show, and me running a company solo, that it was going to have a big impact on me, and it did have a big impact on me. And there were people that literally sent me donations, just totally but they did that all on their own. And I cannot tell you, you guys, you know everything came exactly when it needed. And I tell you all the time, I have "the Lord will provide" tattooed on the inside of my arm, and I believe that 100%. And through you guys, you know everything that I needed was provided. So thank you. I mean, through the Lord, through you guys. So thank you. um anyway, I want to go ahead and get started, and then I'll bring my guy on. Y'all all know who I got backstage. Come on, let's be real. So first off, I want to say congratulations to Toy Town Inc. for being first, my brother. Great to see you, man. Thank you. Who is also a channel member. So I'll give you a little fist bump, my guy. Thank you, man. Appreciate you. We also got Kurt 24, the producer of the show. Not only is he a channel member, but he's also a moderator. Thank you, my guy. ADXR920, also a channel member. Great to see you. JC Neener, also a channel member. I was not napping. I wanted the speech to finish, but when will it ever be done, right? I'm sure it's still going on now. Uh, okay, who else we got? Kurt 24. We got Flying Rich Firearms. What's up, brother? Another mod. Thank you. Let's see. Toy Town, Kurt 24. Fat Gray Man, brother. Great to see you, man. Appreciate you being here as well. Another channel member. ADXR920, Kurt 24, Fat Gray Man. Tech Money, what's up, brother? Another channel member. Appreciate you, my guy. Got a cheese up in here as well. Another channel member. Thank you, man. Appreciate you being here. Agorizer as well. What's up, brother? Great to see you. Also a channel member. Zanty Misfit, what's up, brother? Another channel member. Thank you. Let's see. Z, what's up, brother? Great to see you. Also another channel member. And Mark Tucker, Marka, great to see you. Another channel member. Hey, watching T Rump. Happy to be here. Dark Mayor, wonderful father. Rest in peace. Thank you, my guy. Appreciate you. Let's see. Kurt 24, got a cheese. Aggie, TMFA Hall. What's up, brother? Another channel member. Appreciate you, man. Thank you. Welcome back, Dark. Sorry to hear about your dad. Thank you, man. Appreciate you guys. Agorizer, TMFA Hall, Fat Gray Man, 717 Rider, brother. Great to see you. Also a channel member. Evening all. Sorry to hear about your dad. Thank you, man. Appreciate you guys. Mike McClune, the Goon, as well. What's up, brother? Not only a channel member, but he's also a moderator as well. We appreciate you, man. Kurt 24, Mike McClune, the Goon. Let's see. Tech Money, Agorizer, and all the honorable mentions. Jason, what's up, brother? Anthony Smith, my guy, great to see you. Joe Morris, brother, great to see you, man. Thank you. Appreciate all the kind words from all you guys. Yes, JSD does indeed rock. Damien, my brother in Christ, great to see you. Appreciate you coming in and hanging out as well. Roberto, great to see you, man. Let's see. Agorizer. I said what's up to Agorizer, right, brother? Great to see you. Another channel member. See Damien Christ. Dang old Matt, my brother. Great to see you. There was somebody else. Somebody else had sent a donation via PayPal. I'm so sorry. There were a few that came through, and man, honestly, I wasn't in the headspace when everything was going on initially. So um, I don't want to call everyone out by name, because I will definitely drop the ball and forget some people. So I won't. But those that did, and I'm grateful for you. Thank you, Silverback brother. Great to see you, man. Appreciate you coming in and hanging out as well. And yes, if you could support Dark, if you could, DLD Hardware, man. Thank you. Appreciate you, man. Let's see. Let me make sure I didn't miss anybody else here. Toy Town Inc. We all know and love Toy Town. ADXR Toy Town. Okay, all right. I think we got everyone. Now go back. Hey, come out in PLA. What's up, brother? Good to see you. another channel member. DB, what's up, brother? Great to see you. And 717, it's really great to see you in here as well, man, for real. Yes, I will be there this year at XCal in VA because I mean it's not too far from my area, so I'll be there for sure. Tex says, "Dark, I lost my mother last year. My world has been upside down since then. My condolences, fam. I know it's rough. Yeah, man. Appreciate you, man. Yeah, losing my father was not in the cards for this year, but we're going to talk about it a bit. And who better to bring on the show than the man, the person that I was talking to nearly every single day, definitely every day, if not, talking like catty girls every single day, who basically followed me through the entire thing, which was your boy, Flying Rich, who is currently on mute.
Yep.
What's up, Rich?
Hey, man.
DJ Play Nice, great to see you. Not my name, another channel member. Great to see you, man. Appreciate you guys. To support the channel. Oh, thank you, Kurt. Appreciate you, man. Thank you so much for that. Yeah, so before we jump into it, if you want to let the peeps know a little brief introduction, feel free. Go ahead.
I'm Flying Rich, and I troll the internet with videos.
This is true. Usually using other people's audio. Let me rephrase that. Almost always using other people's audio.
Almost always. Well, at least at Flying Rich Firearms, yes. So yeah, you can find me flyingrich.com. I have 2 YouTube channels, Flying Rich, Flying Rich Firearms. Flying Rich Firearms is mainly a short channel, and I do live and other content on Flying Rich.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I make a weekly trip to my FFL to pick up a gun and then make videos about it.
Yeah, you just got your frag out as well, right? The frag out 1911?
Yes.
Guys, here's Missouri Survival and Outdoors. I would highly recommend you guys all. I know it's a small stream tonight. We only got like 30 folks in here, but if you guys could do me a favor, subscribe to Missouri Survival and Outdoors. Really good guy, and he's part of the Red Dawn crew, DLD crew. So show him some love and show him how the Dilders do it. So, all right. So look, this I'm gonna break it into 2 shows tonight. And people that aren't like, you know, the homies or the OGs of the channel, may not get this, but I wanted to do a stream dedicated to specifically to my father who just passed away, and also explain what happened because there have been a lot of people that did not know, that weren't following, that they don't come into every stream and get the updates like a lot of you guys do. And so some people, it was totally out of left field, like what the hell happened. And I was getting a bunch of messages, and I'll be honest, man, I have not even looked at my Instagram DMs in probably over a week, and it probably looks like a dumpster in there. So if you hit me up on IG, I apologize. I've not even looked at it because that thing's burning up anyway, without everything that's happened. Drew, my guy, I was talking about you earlier, man. Thank you so much, lifetime channel member, and man, I so appreciate the support, man. You, Drew, man, thank you. You've done so much for the channel, for me, and I'm grateful for you, for real. Thank you. So what we'll do is, if we could, I just want to share the story of what happened, and explain to you guys and explain the lessons, the takeaways, the life lessons, the most important things that that I'm taking away from this, which is, really it's my father's legacy, everything he lived with his life and what he left behind, and the message that I want to leave. And then I'm gonna end this stream, and then I'll kick it off, obviously leave it posted up on the channel and all that, and then we'll do another stream, and we can talk shit about everything going on with all the crazy politics and the assassinations and all that, attempted assassinations.
No, it was class. It was a shorter class. We won't do
Yeah,
that now.
it was a Hornet, right? Um, ADXR920, brother, great to see you, man. I think didn't I said what's up to you? Anyway, ADXR920, great to see you, channel member. Appreciate all the channel members, man. Fun fact, channel members are like 99.8% of all this channel's revenue. So
Oh my
you
gosh,
guys, yeah, yeah, you guys are
it,
literally like the thing. The
it's
thing.
freaking tragic. I legit, I was
Lady
all
Smith, good to
excited
see you.
when I started making $100 a month on YouTube,
I remember that.
and now 2 channels I don't make $100 a month on YouTube.
Because they've been reducing it by 50% annually. And
And
that's
no, not only have they been reducing it, but now they've added channel memberships, and it's still, if it wasn't for channel memberships, I'd have nothing.
yeah, yeah, it's crazy, man. Senor Bob, also a channel member, great to
Hey,
see
Bob.
you. TMC, my guy, too many choices, great to see you. Also a channel member, not my name. Great to see all you guys. Um, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to jump into it. Rich and I are going to kind of toggle back and forth because he literally lived the entire 2 month long experience with me, being my sounding board daily through this. So any like super chats or messages or anything that comes through, I'll star them, and then I'll come back afterwards at the end. So if you guys could just understand that anything that comes through, I'm gonna star it, and then I'll come back later, and then we'll address what you said. Okay. And I'm not expecting. I'm not to be rude. I'm not expecting any super chats. I'm just telling y'all if something comes through. Anyway. So I guess the Z, of course, has to do the member chat right away. Wrench Z wants to smash stuff. I certainly hope you do not want to smash stuff. I hope you're okay. 30 months, man. That's crazy, bro. Testing, testing. 1, 2, 3. Great to see you. All right, thank you, brother. But let's just jump into it. This had been essentially a 2 month ordeal. And there have been, like, now that we can look back on things that were happening, um and since more people jumped in, I'll say this. My father just passed away. He passed away on the 11th, literally like 10 minutes after the sun came up. And I think it was important to him to last another dawn. um and we'll get into that later. Anyway, so for those of you just coming in here, as I'm telling this story, I'm telling just the story of what happened with my father and his getting sick, getting better, getting sick, getting better, getting worse, the downfall, and then him passing, and then we'll do another stream after. Okay. So essentially, looking back on it now, there were things now that we notice, after he was in care and all that, that we probably should have noticed things that we didn't see. But at the time when you're in it, when you're living life, you don't notice everything
You're
like
not
you
stepping
do.
back and looking at the big picture.
Exactly. Yeah, you're looking at it from the ground level. You're not looking at it from the 40,000 foot view or whatever they call it. Corn Pop, thank you, my guy. Um, there was a Sunday morning, that my mom and dad woke up, and they're very involved in their church. They actually helped launch a church with some other folks, and they basically took on all the music. Excuse me, all the music, and my dad would sing, do guitar, and my mom would sing and do piano, guitar, all sorts of stuff. They're very musically inclined. And anyway, one Sunday morning, they woke up, and he basically said that he had abdominal pain. They were getting ready to go to church. Now, their church is like an hour away, and an hour and a half there, and an hour back. And he finally said that his stomach was hurting so bad. He was like, "Look, I can't do this. Like, I can't take another 3.5 hours. Like, I just got to go to the doctor." It was a Sunday morning, so they were like, "Let's just go to the emergency room." So my mother and my father went to the emergency room, and this all started with me just getting a text saying, "Went to the emergency room. Dad is, having abdominal pain." Well, what they found, because it just seemed like, okay, he's having some pain, whatever, no big deal. It seemed so basic and innocent in the beginning, and then my father, um, after getting scans and seeing a few doctors, uh, they said that he had an abscess in his colon, and that they needed to. There's a couple things they were going to do. The first thing they did was they had installed, surgically put in some drains, and the drains basically were going to pull, the abscess gunk and nastiness, the pus and the infection and all that shit. They're going to drain it out, right? And I'm sure there was fluid buildup and all that stuff. So they did that. It's a smaller surgical procedure, and they were debating on what they were going to do next, because what had happened was with the abscess, they had said that he had sepsis, and some of you guys already know this. He had sepsis, and because of the sepsis and the level of the infection, he had AFib, which is irregular heartbeats. And at that point, they were trying to gauge what would be the safest next step for, doing surgery and things like that. And then they had said, we have a couple of options. And while they're discussing options, his colon perforated. So his colon, that has a couple drains installed in it, literally perforated and opened in his body. So all of this nasty stuff, we're talking like shit water, pus, blood, infection, everything, while he's dealing with sepsis and AFib, right? It perforated, and they needed to take him in emergency surgery right away. So that was scary, but they were able to bring him in. They did the emergency surgery, and they basically resectioned his colon, and then they said, essentially, he was going to have to get a colonoscopy, or colonoscopy, an ostomy,
Colostomy bag.
colostomy, colonoscopy. Sorry, a colostomy bag, and that he would need it probably for anywhere around 6 months, maybe even as much as 6 to 12 months, as he was recovering, which was a total bummer. Like, that was shitty news to
Hmm.
get, no pun intended. But at that point, it was like, whatever we have to do to get him back to normal. And this is over the course of a week or so at this point. And they resectioned his colon. They gave him the ostomy, and they were going to do a follow-up surgery, but they through this didn't want to have to put him under again. So they if you take someone, especially that's older, my dad was in his 70s. If you take somebody that's older and already at risk out of anesthesia, let them recover, and then put them back under anesthesia, hoping to get them back out. It's more risky to do that over and over than it is to just keep them under anesthesia, um, for a few more days. So they had said, we're going to keep them basically under for 3 or 5 more days or something like that, which was
Wow.
scary in itself. So um, he actually was kind of under a little anesthesia, but he was up and he was communicating with a fucking breathing tube installed in him,
Oh,
a
that's
feeding tube installed
well. He was
in
writing
him.
notes, right?
He was up with a whiteboard, and he was communicating with us via whiteboard, slightly sedated, also on low doses of, we'll call them, painkillers, and also just the fact that he was like communicating with us was just like crazy. Um, they ended up totally opening him on this past surgery. They ended up totally opening him all up, totally opening up his colon, basically like power washing everything, like the way you detail a car, like completely detail cleaning everything, and then resectioning his colon, putting in the ostomy, the colonostomy bag, the colostomy bag. Geez, sorry. And then brought him back, and then they came back in. They had the cardiologist team, the surgical team, and basically all the doctors, even the infectious disease. They had everyone come together and basically say, we're not going to do the next surgery because there was another very small um, abscess still in there. And at this point, the infection was clearing and he was doing better, so they just pulled him out of the anesthesia. And then finally he got the breathing tube pulled out. He was breathing on his own, but he was getting better. Then we also found out way later that the likelihood, because of his age, because of the sepsis, because of the AFib and all this stuff, I found out later that basically it was um, he was lucky to have survived through the surgery
Ooh.
because it was a very big surgery and a big deal, and having your entire guts opened up, getting everything power washed and detail clean basically. um so now he's in the hospital. At that point, it was basically like 2 or so weeks in, and we're expecting him to stay maybe another week, maybe 10 days or so, and we're waiting um, for him to get better to the point where he can leave and then go to physical therapy, occupational therapy, that kind of thing. So, and I don't know, is there anything you want to interject on, or you want me to just to continue?
So yeah, but most of this time he was in the ICU. He wasn't in a regular room or anything.
All of it. The entire time he was in the STICU, which is the surgical trauma ICU. And
So what I don't know if people understand this, if you've had a loved one in the hospital, usually you're in a number of hours, in even less if you're in anything like the ICU.
yeah,
So,
even in like critical situations, you're in for a few days and then you're
mhm,
pulled out, downgraded to another room, something like that. Um, I knew, I was preparing myself for it, even though things were looking hopeful, even though things looked like they were getting better and improving. I kept seeing people around him either get moved out to other rooms and be downgraded to another room, or lots of people passed away.
mhm,
Um, there was this guy who, we prayed for Teddy that night.
mhm,
Teddy didn't make it, and he thank you, Slim. I appreciate you, man. All you guys. Um, there was a 16-year-old that came in from a car crash. She didn't make it. And you got to imagine someone that is laying in the hospital, praying for strength and, just asking the Lord for strength and mercy, and hearing the wails and sobbing of other families as they lose
oof,
family members. You know what I mean? Like there's actually
it's
something
gut wrenching.
literally, it's brutal. And there's something called ICU psychosis, where people literally experience psychosis from being in the ICU, and it's crazy. And there was an element of that with this situation as well. Um, it was an extremely high level of care. It was a constant level of care. He couldn't move himself at all, right? It was, and this was a guy that was literally prior to this 100% independent. Okay, like he had a bunch of guns. We would shoot together. This isn't someone who was like losing mobility, that couldn't walk on their own, that had a cane or a walker or a wheelchair. Like nothing. He was 100% independent and good to go. We thought, right? But there was other stuff going on that we didn't realize at that time. Anyway, so at that time, we're just like, he needs to get better to a point where he can get out of the ICU or the STICU, and then go to PT, right? Physical therapy, so he can get back into healing, right? So about 3 weeks in, they finally say, okay, we're doing like the check on everything, and they give him the okay to get discharged to go to physical therapy. The place that they originally wanted to go, which has a better, higher level of care, because they needed to be able to, look at, is the infection coming back? They need to run his blood every single day. They need to, they need to have not just a physical therapy place, but a medical facility that also provides physical therapy. So there were like two in the area, and one of them basically said, you need to go get some amount of small physical therapy first, and then you need to come here. So he went to a place. He went there for one night, and it was so bad that when he went there, I don't even know. Whatever, I'll still say it. So he went there. He was there for a day and a half actually, and basically when he went there, he had he was having a really difficult time breathing, and my dad at night would experience anxiety and fear, and wake up disoriented and scared, and
Well,
um
you think he really wasn't sleeping throughout the night, right?
he wasn't sleeping at all. He was sleeping in like 15-minute increments, and I think he was terrified to sleep because he had to, in my opinion, based on what I saw, I think he was telling himself, you gotta fight, you gotta stay strong, you gotta, so he was doing things, he was constantly challenging his mind. He was challenging, like he was doing math all the time. He was going through the whole like what the Stanley Cup playoffs and things like that. Um, thank you, Johnny. I appreciate you, man. Thank you. And like I said, any of the chats, I will go back to them. So I appreciate you guys. Um, and you know, I think because he was trying to push himself, I think he was scared to sleep, and I think he because of him being out sedated under anesthesia with a breathing tube and all that, I think he was scared. And then especially at night, he would basically be sitting up. He would only want to sit, he wouldn't lay back. He would be like sitting up kind of like reclined basically, and he would kind of like nod off, and then like 5 minutes or so would go by, and then he would like wake up and he'd be disoriented from the 5 minutes. So we're talking like weeks of barely sleeping at all, right? The only time he truly slept was when he was sedated. When he was sedated and he would sleep for like 8, 9, 10, 12 hours, he would wake up and he would be sharp, right? So I think the lack of sleep and the infection and everything else that was happening definitely all compounded. Um, when he went to the physical therapy place, he was discharged with not exactly like a clean bill of health, but basically it was like he was kind of like talking a little bit of nonsense here and there. He was saying stuff that didn't make sense. He was getting angry at some of the family members, and it just wasn't him like at all. And we thought like, well, it's probably him being in the ICU for, nearly a month. That's got to be it. So, we just were like, okay, if he can physically heal, then he can psychologically heal, and then we'll deal with the rest later. So he goes to this place, to this physical therapy place. He like we just discussed, he wasn't really sleeping very well, and he still had his phone. He still had all normal like privileges, right? Um, and he was having a difficult time breathing, and he ended up when he was given the okay to leave the ICU to go to the physical therapy place, it took like another 3 days before he was actually booted to go. And I think between that 3 days and then the fourth, whatever, the day and a half that he was at physical therapy, something else started brewing that they didn't see. Because when he went there, he said he couldn't breathe. He had pressed the button to call the nurse. These people had four people to cover a four-level building of probably over 100, like 120 people, which is absolutely absurd, and just like that should not even be legal, right? And he ended up calling 911 in the middle of the night. And I think me and the family kind of thought that he was just being a little ridiculous, and that he was being a little, not acting out of character. We'll say that. We felt that he was acting out of character and just didn't want to be there. So he goes back via ambulance to the same hospital, to the same STICU, and they find out that the abscess had come back and that he now had sepsis again, which was causing AFib again. And then through that and through staying another several days, and now we're pushing a month there, he started to decline cognitively as well. And now we're like over a month in, and I think all of us had like so much hope that he was going to get better and he was going to heal and that we were going to, um, I don't know, like all of us live like relatively close together. So we all kind of had this like plan that we were all going to be there for my dad as he healed and my mom as my dad healed. And we were all talking as a family and also like we all like had that idea, but I think a lot of us kind of felt like this isn't looking very good, right? But as they started to take care of him and treat the sepsis and treat, which of course starts to clear up the AFib, and they put him on other medications. um, they were like, the abscess is so small and it's responding to the antibiotics. We don't need to do another surgery. I found out that they chose not to do that because of the level of risk with the surgery, right? Um, and then they said we're just going to keep treating him, and we'll uh, evaluate later on. So he stayed there for like another week, and then after another week went by, and he responded to the antibiotics. He responded to the treatment there. Uh, it was kind of a good thing that he called 911 because we found out that he had pneumonia, and you know not only pneumonia, um, but like just a whole bunch of other stuff. And that week was taken. So this is the first weekend of the second month. Um, he starts to get better, and then a bed opened up at the original physical therapy place that we wanted to send him to, and it was like, this is a blessing. Like, this is why everything is kind of working in
Mm.
this direction, right? It was like, this is the way things are supposed
Yeah, I
to
remember you're
be
so happy. You're
going.
like, no, this is a great facility.
Yeah, and it was, I mean, they were excellent, and they gave him so much grace, and they had so much patience, and there were times that he was not easy to work with because it wasn't really him at this point, because what had happened is we're going on a week of, him fighting hard and him running out of energy hard. He had probably lost about, like, 2/3 of his mass of his body. I mean, he's just being like eaten at this point, like the size of his frame, his muscle, his like I was just like watching him deteriorate, and it was sad. But what the doctors were saying is that, like, well, with the antibiotics and these medications and these treatments and things like that, like, he's physically starting to get better, and in my head, I'm like, once he physically heals, then he can psychologically heal, cognitively
Mm.
heal, and all this stuff, right? Well, he also, again, wasn't sleeping very much at all during this time. So, basically, um he had been discharged to this place, which was an excellent place. It's a medical facility that also provides PT and OT. So he goes there and he stays there for about 2.5 weeks. And during this time, we started to kind of lose him um, cognitively. And we were thinking that maybe what happened physically from the trauma that he experienced, the trauma associated with the surgeries, the trauma associated with just being in the ICU and having a breathing tube jammed in you and have like
Hmm.
everything that he had gone through, that maybe that's why he's kind of losing touch a little bit. And after the 2.5 weeks, like, this is during Father's Day and all that, we all got to go in and see him. We all spent time with him. My brother spent a lot of time with him, God bless him, man, because he had the patience of a a nun, I mean, you know, I don't think I want to get like into too much detail, but there were times that my dad would call us, the kids, and he would just be saying things that were so far removed from reality that like that it was sad. Like it was just it was sad. And during that time though, we all got to spend a bunch of time with him, and we all got to talk, and um even though he was still being treated, his wounds were being treated from the surgery. He was, being treated with antibiotics. He was being treated. He was still doing PT and OT, and he was fighting like hell. And I know he was. But after that 2.5 weeks, um, they had said your heart rate is too high to do PT. And then once they said that the second day in a row, he said, "Okay, I'm having difficulty breathing. You're saying that my heart rate is too high to do PT. I'm here to do PT. If I can't do PT, then it sounds like I should be back at the hospital." So they said, "Okay, then go ahead and call 911 and ride back there with an ambulance." I think they were getting frustrated with him, right? But I think at that point he was just like, "I need to know what the fuck is wrong with me."
Yeah, yeah.
Like, I need to know what is wrong with me, what needs to heal, what do I need to focus on? And I think all of that stuff mixed with not sleeping, mixed with ICU psychosis, mixed with everything that was going on, he was kind of slipping cognitively. And it's, probably the most that I'll get into that. Um, but at that point, he says, "Okay, then I'm going to go back to the hospital." So they took him back to the hospital via ambulance, and they basically said, "Dude, your vitals are fine. Your heart rate's a little high, but they're basically going to kick you to the curb, right?" He gets back to the hospital. Not only do they not kick him to the curb, they take him in. And one of the things that I was nervous of is that place not being a hospital, right? Not being the same level of care as the ICU or the STICU, right? That they would miss the relapse of the infection, or that they would miss like other stuff coming back. And
Hmm.
and I think they did, and it's not their fault, right? But when he got to the hospital, they said the abscess is back, the sepsis is back,
Oh,
the AFib is back, and there's another thing called SAE, which is basically a post sepsis cognitive disorder where you start to express like um what's it, like Alzheimer's, dementia, like things like that. And he kind of was, not kind of, he was showing those kind of signs. Hang on, I need some nicotine real quick. Now, at this time when he came back, they had said sepsis came back. So the abscess came back, sepsis came back, and the AFib came back, right? Now, they also said you have pneumonia and you have two blood clots in your lungs. So it was just like boom, 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 just kept getting hit. And I think a lot of us still had hope because this whole time we're like clinging on to hope, like, please God, like,
you're like, hey man, antibiotic, you'll be fine.
yeah, it makes sense, right? Unless you've been given an IV antibiotic for the last month and a half and your body isn't responding the same. By the way, one of the antibiotics, the side effect of it is experiencing delusion, delirium, like all this, the shit that we're talking about, right? It could enhance it. And then basically at this time, I was praying for my dad every day, but at this time I was almost the whole time basically praying for miraculous intervention of some sort. Like, please God, just heal him, right? Like, give him the energy, the clarity, the the healing, like. But me praying for what I want is not the way that I should be praying. So at that time when he came back to the hospital is when I kind of had a realization that you know, he may not be here for much longer. So I started to pray differently. I still prayed for miraculous intervention. I still prayed for, you know, my father to be healed, and I prayed for him to have the strength and the energy and the clarity and everything that he needed to heal physically and psychologically and neurologically. But I also prayed that if it was his will to God's will to bring him home and to bring him in to the eternal kingdom of heaven, then so be it, you know, and I had to prepare myself for that. And and that's how I started praying from then on. And over the next week and some change or so, week-ish, um, I was with my dad several days in a row and we were all kind of like cycling through, you know, I would go, then my brother would go, then my sister would go, then, you know, we're all kind of cycling through. And I was having conversations with Rich and I was like, man, this is really one of those moments as a Christian where you got to put your money where your mouth is. You know, we say all the time, you know, everything that happens that's God's plan is not for our understanding. Like it is so many times people say like, well, this person passed away, but that was mercy from God because he could have died in some fiery car crash and some torturous death and all this. And God, to quote someone that I love very much, God is not up there playing checkers with souls, right? Like, oh, here comes another baby, so I gotta, you know, check this one. You know what I mean? Like that's not what he's doing. It's not a soul for a soul and jumping this checkerboard to win. It is his will, and it is his plan, and it is not to be understood by us. It's never supposed to be understood by us. And it this is when, like, when you and I were talking, and I was like, it's time to, you know, for me to put my money where my mouth is because I'm talking about my father. I'm talking about
Mhm,
my
mhm.
dad. The everything who I am as a man, everything as a child, everything as a young adult, everything as a man, as a grown up myself, as a father of another child, as like everything that I've become has leaned so heavily on who he is and who he was as a man. So for me to say, God, it's okay to take him if that's
So
your plan.
I want to add one thing here. So
Hmm.
while this is all going on, your wife, who you've been separated from, is planning on going to
Oh,
the Jersey Shore with your daughter. And it wasn't explained to your daughter, like, it's like, oh, he stubbed his toe, he'll be fine. That's it
she
was the
she
gravity of the situation wasn't communicated.
she only knew that he was in the hospital, and I don't want to cast a negative light on my wife, even though we're still legally married. We're separated. We're
Well,
getting a divorce.
and that's I would have a tough time with that myself. I'm like, do you want to get the kid all worked up, or do you want to be like, oh, he's in the hospital, get him
Yeah.
antibiotics, he'll be fine.
Yeah, I mean, I remember I had told her because there was a lot of pressure for me to go on that beach trip, and I had told them, "No, I'm not going to leave my father in this condition." And I was more honest with my daughter than she had asked me to be. And here's my thing: as a father, I am always going to be as honest as I possibly can be because I don't ever want my daughter to be like, "Oh, well, you lied about Santa Claus. Did you lie about and the Easter bunny? Did you lie about Jesus?" You
Oof,
know, like I
oof, right?
for me to not give my daughter I guess like enough respect to be honest with her. You know what I mean? Like that
Mm.
I had a tough problem with that. So I did tell her, Daddy's not going on the beach trip with you guys. And she cried and cried and cried. Why not? You don't want to go and this and that. And she, she tried to like barter and like beg and like and I felt terrible, but I told her my daddy's in the hospital. He is not doing well. He's getting worse every day and I need to be here for him and for my family. And she was still kind of upset. And I said, okay, if daddy was in the hospital, if your daddy was in the hospital, would you still go on a vacation or would you stay here to be with me and your family? And she was kind of like, okay, I understand, and that I guess that it was the most honest thing I could say, but to cue it up for what was gonna happen in the future, that was not the best way to do things because she's thinking, "Oh, he's just in the hospital." And she asked me, "Is he gonna pass away?" And I said, "No."
Mm.
And, look what happened. Um,
And what I was concerned is that she's going to be like, oh, somebody, I don't know how her grandma has a runny nose. Is she going to make it? You know,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
if that's going to be a situation in the future. The other thing, the learning part about this is, I mean, look, we're all on borrowed time, and
Yeah,
you don't know who's going to be around tomorrow and whether they are or are not.
yeah,
So certainly value that time, be respectful to the person. But if if it's somebody's older and they're in a situation like this, you need to spend as much time as possible, and not
mhm,
necessarily for them, but for yourself, so you don't
yeah,
have any guilt about it when if they do pass.
yeah. And there was an entire week there where my daughter had gotten strep and we were all around her. We were all and I didn't want to put my dad at risk. So there was over a week that I did not go see him, that I did not spend time with him because I didn't want to introduce strep
Hmm.
into,
Hmm.
the clean environment, right? Um but at that time that was basically the last week that he was alive, and I remember, after that weekend, I dropped my daughter off on Sunday, and I came and spent time with him at the hospital on that Monday, and we were just sitting and we were talking, and, it was interesting that he chose to talk about all the kids to each kid. And I think that he did that because he wanted us to talk about his perspective of each other with each other. You know what I mean? And
Hmm.
um, on Monday, uh, every time I went to the hospital, I would literally just kneel down and just be literally leaning on the bed with him, as close as I could get without being weird. And it's funny because literally the day he died, when he was literally on his way out and we were all crying and sobbing, he literally was like, "Don't be weird." Like, that's what he said. Like, he still kept that, like, you know, that element of humor and, that's who he was, but sorry, so I would be, leaning literally, on the bed, and I had pulled up a chair. One of the nurses pulled up a chair for me. I sat in the chair, I leaned against the side of the bed, and I was just sitting there holding his hand, and we were talking, and, I just started crying. And, at first, I kinda just put my head down on the bed and just kinda silently was crying, and then, I came up, I started wiping my tears, and this is at a point where he was, like, in and out, where you don't know if it's gonna be him or if it's gonna be, like, the confused, cognitively
Mm.
declining version of him, right? And, and, he had said I pulled my head up, and he saw that I was crying, and he had said, "What's wrong?" And I was just like, "It's just not fair." It's not fair that you have to go through this. It's not fair that this is happening. It's not fair this is happening to you. You did not deserve this, you know? And he told me, he was like, look, the absolute worst case scenario is that I die, and I'm okay with that. And it just like it hit me, and it it also told me my dad has lived his entire life just doing everything he can do to bring others to Christ, and that's what he committed his entire life to. After, he was a young adult, he dedicated everything about himself to bring others to Christ, and he did it, with us, as all of us kids. He did it with us by, like, not, like, forcing us to, or not, using punishment and indoctrination and brute force, and he did it using love and using forgiveness and using himself as, you know, a tool, extending grace, and him just, like, living what people talk about, right? Like, actually being that person instead of talking about being that person. And one of his favorite quotes was, "At all times, preach the gospel, and when necessary, use words." And that definitely spoke to me because that's who he was. He was a Christian, and at times he would talk about it. You know what I mean? And he used love and grace and forgiveness and care and compassion to bring us to the Lord, and he didn't force any of us to. And that takes a lot of care, compassion, patience, discipline. He let us fail, he let us make mistakes, he let us be independent. I mean, all of us had just, you know, had tragic things happen in our lives, and most of them by us. And yeah, I mean, he just let us make mistakes, and he would still love us and never cast us out. And you know what I mean?
Hmm.
It's just it's hard, but it's also relieving to know, because, like, I know if there's anybody with a VIP pass to the eternal kingdom of God, it was him, and my mom is the same way. And when he told me that, I was at peace, obviously still praying for miraculous intervention and for, you know, all of this to just go away and for him to get better. And um, at that time on that Monday, his heart previously was functioning at about 30%. And on that Monday, his heart was functioning at 19%. And the next day, Tuesday, his heart was functioning at 10%. And then on Wednesday, his heart was functioning at 5%. So
Oof.
clearly, this was going in a direction that was, not
Yeah.
going to be, in his favor as far as staying here, in the form that we were praying for him to stay here. And they had said something along the lines of, there's one other medication that we can give him that if he responds to, he may respond terribly to it. This may be very, this may not be good, but if he does respond to it, it could turn things around. You know, do you guys want to do it? And basically my mom had said, like, yes, do it. So they administered the medication. And I mean, you could see literally in his neck, you could just see it was like, I mean, it was pushing his heart. So it was a gamble with that, but still had a little bit of hope of, like, man, like, God, just please help him just get through this and push through this. Um and also, if it's his time, I had to make peace with me saying, okay, if it is his time to go, and if that is your will and your plan, then who am I? And I say all the time that, like, this is not for our understanding, that all things work for the good and the glory, right? So who am I? Like, who do I think I am to, think that I know better than God's plan? And I know that I am not supposed to understand any of this. And I say all the time that if God was small enough to understand, he wouldn't be big enough to worship. And that has stuck with me, and that has kind of helped me course correct as a Christian, as far as what I pray for and what I think, like how I think things should go. And he was there with us on that Wednesday, and we stayed with him all day. And then he passed away the next morning. The sun rose at 5:54. And through all this, my dad hated the night. He hated the dark. He hated, he had anxiety around it. He had a lot of fear, and that's when he got most disassociated with reality and all that. So he did make it to another dawn. And at 5:54 a.m. that morning, the sun rose, and at 5:55 is when he started to. Um, when you when someone passes away in that type of condition, usually what happens is their heart rate starts to decline, but then their respirations go up a lot, and because your body's like fighting. And within that last 2 days, one thing I didn't add. I'm sorry, I'm kind of all over the place, guys. Forgive me.
You're
Um,
doing pretty good.
I appreciate that. Um, the other thing we wanted to do was take him off all of the invasive machines. He had a mask buckled on to his face that was painful. It was a BiPAP machine to help him breathe. He had O2. He had all this stuff, and it was brutal to see him like that. And he would, every 30 to 60 seconds, he would nod off and start to fall asleep, and then wake up, and he had these mitts tied on his hands so he wouldn't rip off the mask. And then he had this mask, buckled hard on his face, and every 30 to 60 seconds he would wake up and scream help. And like, I remember having to be there and be like, "It's okay, Dad. Remember,
Hmm.
we have the
Hmm.
gloves on because you have the mask on. You have the mask on because you have pneumonia, and we need to get through the pneumonia, and that's how we get to the exit." We had a whole plan. And I didn't realize that, I think what he was screaming help for was to just pull off the mask and the machines and just let me go. Just let me go.
Mm.
And we did eventually. And that's the most peaceful day and a half, man. I didn't see him break from reality. I didn't see him, you know that last day and a half. He hadn't been able to eat prior to that. They had to take him off of food because he was aspirating,
Hmm.
getting
Yeah.
aspirations from eating and drinking. And that last day and a half, man, we brought in coffee. He loved coffee. Um, he was able to drink coffee. He was able to eat a cheeseburger from his favorite restaurant, like a really big gourmet cheeseburger. And he was also able to drink a stout, a dragon's milk stout. And this is the first sip he had of stout or alcohol in like 2 months, right? And we had asked him what he wanted. My brother was the one that picked dragon's milk because they would drink that together. And the first sip he took of the stout, you just hear this like silence for a moment, and you hear, "Wow," and he got to drink a bunch of it, and then we were asking him like, "What do you want? What do you want?" And he was like, "Bottle." He wanted to like drink out of the bottle, but we gave him a bunch of stout. He was able to eat, some of a cheeseburger from his favorite restaurant. He was able to drink coffee, drink stout, and then the next morning he passed away. And man, it it sucks, man. And a room of people all crying and wailing uncontrollably like that will scar you forever, you know? And it was extremely painful. It all the things that, it was hard. It was hard, but knowing with 100% certainty that my father, after all this, he doesn't have to fight anymore. He doesn't have to, you know, go through everything that he went through anymore. He is finally at peace, and he finally was able to enter the divine and eternal kingdom of God, and that is I can't get mad at that, you know? And it sucks, like, the worldly, selfish version of me wants him here,
Oh yeah,
like, I thought I was gonna have another 20 years with him. There's no like, his mother died in her 90s, right? So how could
right,
he die
right.
in his 70s? Like, it
Yeah.
doesn't make sense. But even though no matter how, like, painful it was, no matter how much it hurts, no matter like, I got to a point where I had called you and I was like, "Man, my heart, like, it physically hurts." Like, it actually physically hurt, and I had no more tears in my body at all. I could not cry again if I had tried to. And that was the morning that I had called you and told you that my dad had passed away. And I'd asked you and John to do the I'm sorry, John did the video, and I know, I mean, I know I asked you to do something really difficult, and I'm sorry, and I know you were willing to, but it's hard to talk about this shit and not just like break down, man, you know?
Well, it's like I thought, nah, in a couple hours I'll be able to do it, and I'm like, I sit down to do the video. I'm like, yeah, nah. I texted John. I'm like, hey, John, can you do this?
Yeah. Yeah, it's hard, man. I think the hardest thing was leaving, walking away, looking back, seeing him in the bed,
Oof.
and we just had to tell my mom that he's not there anymore, you know? Um, but if there's, and like Rich said, like all the lessons that I've learned from this, and there's a lot. Um, I always say it like, the next time you say, "Hey, be right back," to your family, could be the absolute last time you ever see
Hmm.
them, ever, right? So cherish every moment, live a life of gratitude. Don't live a life with regret and guilt, and, live a life of forgiveness, reserve judgment. Like, that's not for us, like, all those things are there too in the lessons, but also that quote is just sticking in my head of preach the gospel at all times, and when necessary use words. Like, it puts me in check, like, as a Christian, like, am I just saying the things that Christians say, or am I
Mm.
truly
Are
living
you
the
walking the
way?
walk?
Yeah, yeah. So that was a big realization, because that's who he was, and he was not perfect. All right, let me just say that too. Like, he absolutely was not perfect. Okay, um, but I think partially his stubbornness and partially his errors were also what helped him be a great father and be patient and diligent and have discipline and wait for us to. But in the end, all of his kids came to Christ before he passed away. We had a lot of things that were unsaid and undone, but it was okay because, and some of the things that he would just like pop out of not even sleeping, like him just like nodding off, and he would say things like he called out the names of my two nephews, and then he said, "They're the next leadership." And my brother was like, "Yeah, okay, dad," not even paying attention, but like what he meant was like, now it's your job to do what I did, and for you to bring
Mm.
others to Christ, and for you to bring your sons, and for me, my nephews, to Christ, so they can then go on and do, you know what I mean, like continue the cycle, and yeah. So that's the story. That's what went down, and I know were right there the entire time, and you got to see everything from like, "Oh, he's doing better, we're hopeful," to, "Oh,
Oh,
man, this just happened. Oh, things are good. Oh, things are not. Oh, things are great. I'm scared things are gonna." I mean, and it was just constant. It was like taunting, and yeah, but I've learned a lot from this, and I'm sorry, I've been running my
it's
mouth the whole
tough,
time.
and I mean, I've lost actually, Crump lost his father. I lost my father. You lost your father in the last, I think less than 3 years.
Yeah,
My mom, she passed when I was 27, and the last week, it was like you're in the hospital and you think like, all right, she's probably going to pass tonight, and then you go to the hospital the next day, and they give her a blood transfusion the night before or that morning or whatever, and then she looks fine. It's like, oh my god, she's going to pull through, and they did that for a week. And
mhm,
I'm like, what the heck's going on? I finally look at the chart and I see like she's been getting blood trin. Like, oh my gosh, it was, it's torture.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
really, it can be pretty rough.
yeah, and I appreciate you guys all in the chat, giving condolences, and, man, chessboard, you're older than my father. That's crazy. DLD After Dark,
Ooh, passed
77
when I was
months.
14. Wow.
Think about the good things and all he taught you. I think of my father every day at my age. Man, I know I missed a lot of y'all's chats, and I apologize. But yeah, that's the roller coaster, man. It's like things are gonna get better. Oh, things are not. Oh, things are looking
Oof.
good. Oh, things are getting worse. And it is taunting. And I think in the end, we found peace in it. But there is, in your heart, when you hold sorrow in your heart for losing someone, and you have that pain of sorrow in your heart, over time that sorrow will turn into joy. And for anyone that's lost people, right, like there's a time when you mourn and you grieve and you cry and you don't understand it, and there's anger and like all these things, and I don't want to exude one fraction of an ounce of anger, right, like that. And that's important to me to showcase to you guys, so you guys see that there is peace in Christ, right, for me to continue doing my job that I told my father I would do, right? Because, y'all are my community, y'all are my people, right? And I know that this sorrow turns to joy. And if you've been able to, look back on someone that passed, and you find a picture or something, and you smile and you laugh and you remember, those things from the past, like that's when sorrow turns to joy. So I want you guys to remember that. And yeah. Um, Man, when you and I talked earlier, man, I was sincere when I said, first off, I'm grateful for every time you picked up the phone when we talked, for everything. Like, it must have been a lot to have to be on the receiving end of all of this, from like your perspective, Rich. hearing me tell you everything that's going on, and in a way I feel bad that I've, like, put this on you. I've put you through this through me by me telling you everything that had happened. You know what I mean? And I feel badly about that. But I'm grateful for your friendship, and I appreciate you being there the whole ride. You know, it sucks, and I wouldn't, want to go through that alone. I had my family, and talk to my family, and obviously my mother and everything, but it was different. Talking to you was, um, it gave me an element of peace through all this, even in the tragedy. So I appreciate you.
Yeah, thanks. It's tough. I mean, I I went through with my dad differently though. About 20 years before my dad passed, he stopped being the same guy I knew. He started drinking a lot, and uh, what you're talking about, I remember the first time I was working at Cornell Medical Center in Manhattan, and it was, let's see, I think it was, might have been Easter 2008, and I'm trying to think how long. So I was married, you know, 8 or 9 months, and so we're living in New York, and uh, my wife and my daughter, we jumped in the airplane and we flew over to Harrisburg to see my father, and he picked us up at the airport, and usually he would come down like there. I don't know how many to get to where the ramp where you park the plane.
Hmm.
There's it's a long stairwell. It's like six stories worth of stairs probably to get up to the FBO office. And usually my dad would meet me down there, as
Hmm.
I was tying up the plane and stuff.
Hmm.
And he didn't. And I was like, that's weird. And we get up the stairs and we're in, and my dad's about 6 feet tall, and I could see he's like kind of wobbling like this. I'm like, what the heck? What's going on here?
Hmm.
And we walk out to his car. His car, he sliced it on the Armco barrier, like
Hmm.
literally from the front fender to the quarter panel. The car was sliced.
Dang.
He just pickled himself, and he picked us up, and we stayed like the day. I flew everybody back, and I went to work Monday morning, like that was Easter Sunday. And I went to work. I told them, hey, look, I gotta, take care of my dad. They said, take as much time as you want. And
Hmm.
so I get the train out of Manhattan, jump in my car, drive 4 hours to Pennsylvania. And legit, my dad he had like, I don't know if it's a liter or 2 liter bottles of vodka, and he would just pour like a 16-ounce drinking glass, and just like chug it.
Wow. Wow.
And while we're there for Easter, he came out of his bedroom just to like get some more vodka,
Oh
and
my
that was it.
goodness.
And I had, so he had 2 bottles on the counter there, and I took one bottle, poured half it out, poured half water in, and corked it back up.
Wow.
And when I came back, I came back in the middle of the night, and the next morning he's like, I don't feel good. I think I want to go to the doctor. I'm like, great, because I didn't know how. He was a very stubborn guy, and I didn't know how
Mhm.
I was going to get him to the doctor. I have no clue.
Yeah.
And got him checked into Hershey Medical Center, and he's legit. I think it was lorazepam they kept shooting him up with, because he was
Yeah.
coming down from the DTs, and
That's a benzodiazepine. Yeah. It's kinda
they
like
told
Xanax.
me I may have to take him out to a bar. That
Yeah.
they may not be able to give him any more meds, and I might have to get him a drink at the bar. And
So for people that don't know, alcohol DTs are when you're withdrawing from alcohol, it is one of the most dangerous substances to withdraw from, and it's also one of the only 2 substances on the planet that you can literally die from the withdrawals. It is, very serious. I've actually seen someone die literally right in front of me when I was a young man, from withdrawing from alcohol, from something
Phew.
different, but, that always stuck with me, and I can expand on that later, but, yeah, it's no joke, and the only thing that will cure the withdrawals of alcohol is you can use alprazolam, lorazepam, clonazepam, you can use, um, s some like Xanax and other types of, um, benzodiazepines to try to balance it out, but the only thing that even starts to take the edge off is alcohol, unfortunately, and
That's
that's why a lot of
crazy.
people people literally will go up to, like, hand sanitizers and grab, like, if they're left alone in a doctor's office, they will grab, like, a cup and, like, Listerine and hand sanitizer and literally drink that just to be able to, or even isopropyl alcohol, which is poison, right? Just to take some of the edge of withdrawals off. It's
Wow.
you could have a seizure and die.
So my dad was drying out for a week, and just like you said, they had like the gloves and tethers on him. He had a catheter in him, IV, and he would drift in and out. It would like be 3 or 4 minutes. He'd be like he'd wake up and he'd be like, "What the heck's going on here?" And like, pull. I'm like, "Dad, calm
Mm,
down." Every time that happened, I had the same thing. To like calm him down, explain to him where he was, what's going on, and I they were supposed to have a sitter with him at night, but a couple of times he pulled the catheter out, and
mm,
it's pretty tough. But my sister, there are multiple episodes like that with him, and my sister kept him dry, but he was never the same. I think retirement was the worst thing for him. He was used to working, the Protestant work ethic, as you would say,
mhm,
and he always drank, never to that degree, but yeah, that was I had thought, because the guy I knew as my father, the smart, intelligent guy that I'd have very deep conversations with, has been gone for over 20 years, and when he passed, it still hit me pretty
mm,
hard.
yeah. It's, it's hard, man, um, when they kinda start to go like that, and during everything that our family went through when my dad was, um, you know, going through I mean, I keep forgetting it's like he went through that roller coaster too,
Mm,
um, but, he was, very out of it, uh, sometimes to the point
yeah.
where there was one night that he called me, and I had seen him, like, kind of saying things that were not that didn't make sense. He was, saying things that just were totally out of, like, they were words, but they didn't go together. They didn't make sense. He started getting mad at family members, which he never did, right? Like, none of it made sense. Um, and then one night he called me and he asked me to do something that he never, ever would have asked me to do. I don't even think I should say it. But it was dangerous, and let's just say it required tools and equipment and men. I'll just say that. And it was so shocking, and the way that he spoke to me, it's him. Like, I know intellectually it's him, but like emotionally, I hear my dad saying, like, "If you love me, then you'll come and get me out of here." You know what I mean? Like it so
Hmm.
it just
Hmm.
it still hurt, right? But I knew that it wasn't him,
Yeah,
and,
yeah. I mean, that tugs at. you don't love me if you don't do this for me. It's like,
Yeah. And then
but
what made it worse was the next day in the morning, we're talking like 4.5 hours after this incident occurred, right? Um, After he called me and asked me to do something crazy, ridiculous, and dangerous and stuff, which he never, ever, ever would have done, had done, like ever. Um, in the morning, like 4.5 hours after this happened, my brother and my mom got there, and we'll just, for the sake of this, we'll say dark, right? Um, my my mom was like, "Do you remember calling Dark last night?" And my dad was like, "Who's Dark?" Like, said my name and did not even know or remember who I was at all, like, completely removed from reality and everything that was going on, the sepsis, the SAE, I think that just totally
uh-huh,
disconnected him
uh-huh.
from, uh, you know, reality. It's all good, Grumpy. I appreciate you. Um, but yeah, I mean, it was hard, man. And finally at the end, when he passed away, we walked out of the hospital and we went up to all the hospital staff and shared gratitude and said thank you all so much for taking such great care of him. And it was, we had hospital staff come to us and say, we have never seen a family like yours that exhibited the faith and care and togetherness, and and to know that we had an impact on people working at the hospital was like such a big thing. And they were like, we have people in here that are literally just by themselves and sitting here for weeks and weeks at a time
Uh,
that pass away by themselves. And um so that was huge. And then on the way out, as we're walking, all of us are heartbroken. You know what I mean? Like, people are just looking at us and they can just tell just by walking past us that there's this just energy of sadness all around us. And as we're walking out, my mom, who plays the piano, sees this abandoned piano in the middle of the hospital, and it's just sitting there with nothing on it, no one on it, and it's empty. And we all walked over there as a family, and my mom played two songs that were really important to my father and her, and all of us were just sitting there just crying uncontrollably. But everyone that was around watching and looking, like, they could see faith and hope in what we were doing, even though we were expressing sorrow and we were heartbroken. You know what I mean? That's what I'm talking about when I'm talking about preaching the gospel, and when necessary use words. It's important for us to live that, and it's important for us to be that. And then, yeah, from time to time we could talk about it too. And I'm not, look guys, I am not trying to say, like, from now on DLD After Dark is gonna, every single show gonna be talking about how you can become a better Christian and bring others to Christ. I'm not saying that, but I will always live. Let me say it differently. I will always make a considerable effort to make sure that I am living as closely as I can to be that version of myself. And from time to time, I may talk about it too. But that's a lesson that I've taken with me in this. And I know that's a lesson that my father wanted me to learn. We had a lot of other conversations, and maybe one day I'll share those with you too. But um, being at peace through all this, and knowing that my father has entered the eternal kingdom of heaven, knowing what eternity means and how important that is, like, our life on this planet, the time that we're in this fleshy sack on this world is just like a tiny, tiny, tiny little blip on the radar of eternity, right? So that's why I feel that I am now obliged to live this way and speak this way and, always be the best version of myself because of it. So that's what I mean by that. So I hope that makes sense.
So Coop says Trump finally stopped talking.
Wow. An hour and a half after I watched him speak for 20 minutes or something like that. I'm not surprised. Um oh dude, Kurt, brother, I didn't see it. My phone was going off and I wasn't looking. Kurt just sent me a Cash App for $25
Oh,
and
nice.
says my condolences. I'm sorry for your loss. Kurt, thank you so much, man. I appreciate you, brother. All of you guys, man. No, okay, hold on. He says, "Sorry it couldn't be more. RIP Daddy Dark." Dude, Kurt, you you have done so much, man, and you do so much, and you make like every intention that you can to be here for the channel and to drop links faster than I could even think about it. And you are on point. All the mods here are on point, and you guys have already done so much for me. So please don't even feel what that in itself is already more than I could ever expect from you guys. And you guys have done so much. Drew has done so much. Mike McClune, John Crump, Rich, I mean, all you guys, almost every single person in here, quite possibly every single person in here, but I just want to leave some room here. Almost every single person in here sent me a personal message just expressing condolences and asking, what, like, if I need anything, and just let me know what it is, one word, and like just tell me and I got you. And man, I could never ask for a better community of people that truly care. And I I want you guys to think of one other thing, okay? Life has brought me to this point where for the last year I have been working from home. I've been every single day, and Rich will tell you I talk about it every day, all the time. Every single day, I have been packing orders, and I have to keep up with manufacturing, and then I have to get the things off the build plate, then I have to wash them and clean them and dry them, then I have to package them and label them and make sure the paint markers dry correctly, and then and all the stuff that goes along with that, because I also have to buy the stickers and get the stickers made and get them sent, and they get like everything that I have to do to maintain DLD hardware 100% on my own is a lot, right? However, during this time, I was able to be with my father because I wasn't working 8, 10,
Mm,
12 hours a day, because God put me here in this
yeah.
situation. God also gave me a puppy that couldn't be in the crate for more than 2 to 4 hours at a time, which made things complicated as well, but I'm grateful for him too. He just had a surgery, so I got, man, everything all is always going on at the same time, all the time, forever, always, and it's just constant, and it's just like, man, like, like, can I ever just breathe? I'm able to breathe all day, every day, so I have to get myself out of that, like, shit's going crazy right now. I need to like chill and relax, and things will never be chill and relax. I just need to be okay with not being okay. And I think that I was put in this position over the last year working for myself to prepare me for the situation, to where I could be with my father over this time, to where I could be here for my family over this time, to where I could have the relationship with Rich and all the people that have brought me to where I am, brought me. Rich has had a huge impact on me and my closeness with God, and me getting closer to Christ. And me becoming better as an individual. And this situation has also given me the ability to sit here with a freaking dog and take care of the dog for mostly my daughter, and right, and to get the freaking dog a surgery to get his balls cut out and then take care of him like an infant. Literally, the first night he was here after the surgery, I held him in my arms and fed him one piece of meat at a time on a fork.
Oh, gee.
And he, like, with his front teeth was like biting it off the fork. Like, he knew how to eat off of a fork. It was crazy. But like, everything has brought me to this point. And there's other things too, like, um when that's a whole thing. I'll say this. There were 3 knives that my dad had, and my sister is a huge Kershaw knife carrier. She loves Kershaws, and he had 3 knives, and 2 of them were crickets. One of them was a Kershaw, and I was able to, after we went to the funeral home and said our final goodbyes before, it was our last time saying goodbye to him. Um, I brought the Kershaw with me, and I literally was able to hand it to my sister and explain how important it was to my dad, and how I know that he would have wanted her to have it, so I gave it to her. I have the other cricket that I'm going to give to my brother, and I have this, which is another cricket. It is the M2114, which is the SOCOM. It's like a Bowie folder, and I'm going to cherish this thing. He also had because who he called for his decisions when he was purchasing firearms. Um, he also had a Glock Gen 545. It's boring. It's all black, but I think I'm gonna transition that to my carry gun, so I can have the armor and the shield of my father with me as my carry gun. So I think I'm gonna start carrying that. So
Oh,
yeah,
cool.
yeah, man. So I'm sorry for like I know it's somber, I know it's sad, I know it sucks, and I saw a lot of the chats going by, and man, a lot of you guys are going through your own challenges, your own just tragedies, and all the things that that you're going through, and I don't mean to make this about me as an individual. I just wanted to tell you guys the story from my perspective as I went through all this. And I'm hoping that, like, maybe, one person out there, maybe a family out there, somebody can hear this, and maybe, you know, change the way they look at a sunrise, change the way they look at a sunset, maybe heal a relationship with family members, maybe choose to get closer to God, maybe, whatever it may be, right? If telling this story, because I told Rich I was torn if I even wanted to do this, right? And if I could possibly play a part in pushing someone to get closer to God, then I'm going to take that opportunity. So, you know, that's uh that's why I wanted to do this.
And what you're saying reminded me of a quote: "Is be kind, for everyone you meet is fighting a battle you know nothing about."
Mm, bro, you ain't lying. And Drew, man, I appreciate you, man. Drew has done so much, man. When and I was telling Rich too, I was like, when I was taking a week off from doing this, like the way that this all works, the way that it lives together is DLD After Dark and DLD Hardware are individual things on their own, but the channel feeds the business and the business feeds the channel, right? And going a week or more without doing anything, it did have a big negative impact on me, and it sucks, but I knew I was just gonna have to deal with that. And Drew just like I'm not gonna like put it out there or anything, but he sent me a huge donation and was just like, my condolences, like God bless you. And that was huge to me because I didn't expect it. I just thought I was just gonna have to take an L and sell some guns and figure it out later. And other people jumped in. Kurt just sent me a donation too. And actually, as I'm bringing this up, it's not fair for me to call out all these people by name uh and not bring up the other person that sent me that PayPal donation. So I believe I know who it is. I just don't want to misspeak. Let me just say. And I'm sure they don't care. Most of the people that do this don't do it for
Well,
recognition.
and that's like in the Bible. It says you should give, the left hand should know what the right hand's doing.
Yeah. Oh, I'm so this is I believe it's Dangle Matt. If I'm wrong, brother, please let me know. Just wanted you to know that I'm thinking about you and keeping you and your family in my prayers. Hang in there, brother. You have a huge community of dilders that have your back. Like that, for me to be going through all that shit at that time and feel that and know that, man, you guys have no idea how much that meant to me, for real.
No, somebody just hit you.
Thank you
Dennis
so much for
Dottie.
doing this live feed. Absolutely, man. Um, we all got battles we fight every day for sure. You gotta take care of yourself, brother, too. Absolutely. Welcome. Thank you, man. I appreciate you. Life's a long journey. Taking it, you can make the best of it. Wow. Wow. Holy moly. Uh Dennis Dottie with a $50 super chat. Bro. Whoa. Thank you. Um, God bless you, brother. God bless you, man. That's I certainly was not expecting that, man. Thank you. And look, and all the people in chat are thanking him, bro. Like, see, that is so selfless, man. You guys are I could never ever ever even imagine having a community like this, man. And I was talking to one of my brothers and I was telling him like, man, I could not imagine that we would have built a beautiful community of such incredible people that are so giving and selfless and
Mm.
caring and kind and compassionate. And you know what he said? He said, if your community that you've built is like that, they're like that because of you. And it was like, whoa. And I'm not trying to say that for my ego and my pride or anything. I'm just saying that the way that we treat people is so important. And at the end of every single video, what do? We talk about be kind, live a life of care, compassion, contribution, give to others, bless others. When you bless others, you become blessed. And that is like, I don't say that stuff just to sound cool at the end of a video. As a matter of fact, I would much rather be like, stay strapped and don't get caught lacking and just end the live stream. Like, stay strapped or get clapped or something like that. It is a pretty significant effort to memorize an entire paragraph and a half and close a live stream like that. And but it's I couldn't say what my brother said, which is like the community is like that because of me. I would say that we're like that because of how we are each other, all of us, the people on the show, the people on the panel, the people in the chat, like people that are like each other are attracted to each other and they kind of live in this little,
Hmm.
you
Hmm.
know, place with each other. So um, thank you. And thank you guys, man. All of y'all are incredible. I'm super grateful for every single one of you guys. And I wanted to do this on its own, and then I was planning on coming back on and talking, mess about everything else that's happened. But I don't know. Do you still have it in you, or what do you think?
I got nothing going on, man. I gotta walk the dog. So if we take like a 10-minute break.
Yeah. Are you guys cool with that? Put a one in chat if you want us to come back on and talk about
We got a lot of ish to
conspiracies.
dish.
And we do, man. We do. We got to talk about assassination attempts. We got to talk about, did the bullet really come from that sloped roof? Did it come from the water tower? Did it come from that sign 350 yards away? Did it come? Was it really the? I don't know. I don't know. What does Demolition Ranch have to say about the? I'm just kidding. I'm joking. But let me know if you guys want us to come back and do. Dennis Dottie said, "Rich, you are the greatest friend too, dude.
Wow.
Man,
Well,
you
thank
guys
you.
are incredible for real." And Kyle Wade is still in here, bro.
I'm like, Kyle, man, you got a real job.
Kyle, man, through all this, poor Demo Ranch. I know, right? So Kyle was the last show that I did. Kyle is with Anderson.
Mm.
And Kyle is the last show that I did before my father had passed away, and I cannot tell you how, not like shocked, but how touched I was to hear from Rich. Rich called me, and he did this for every single person that reached out to him. Okay, so if you reached out to Rich and said, "Hey, I don't want to bother Dark, but I just wanted to say my condolences. We're here for it," like that kind of thing, he personally reached out to me and was like, "Kyle from Anderson didn't want to bother you, wanted to give you space, but he just wanted to let you know he sent condolences, and if you need anything, reach out." And like that meant so much to me. And we had just met, and he's sending a 11 and a half inch frontline Anderson frontline AR. And I am going to test the ever loving shat out of that rifle. And I think what I'm going to do, even though it's going to cost like $500 to do it, I think what I'm going to do is take that raffle, and I'm going to take 1,000 rounds through it, and no cleaning, no oil, no maintenance, no nothing at all. Run 1,000 rounds through it, run a grand through it, and then see how it does. And then after that, depending on how it does, maybe run another few hundred rounds, 500 rounds, another 1,000 rounds. And I think I'm just going to keep going and keep going. And maybe like I'm doing with the shadow systems, which I still have not cleaned. And for people asking, right, like I still have not cleaned my shadow systems that I bought on Black Friday last year. And it's still trucking at about 1,100 rounds. I know it's only 1,100 rounds, but still,
So I'm still pissed I missed out on that deal.
dude,
But do you know how many guns I bought at that point?
one too many.
Yeah, let's end this stream and then let me walk the
Yeah.
dogs.
Last thing, I just want to say this. Kyle was so helpful and so awesome that he also created a discount code. So if one were to choose to, because this is not sponsored by anyone. I have no content on my channel at all that is sponsored by anyone. I don't have sponsorships at all. I don't believe in them. Or do I? Anderson Manufacturing. Anyway, if you use code DARK on Anderson Manufacturing's website, which there's a bunch of great stuff for great prices, you get like what, 10% off or something like that.
10%.
So yeah, 10% off. So shout out to Kyle with Anderson Manufacturing, man. You are a great man. Everyone else that sent love and support and condolences, man. And Drew, Kurt, Dangle, Matt, all you guys, man. I appreciate you guys so much, man. I'm so, so grateful for you guys. You guys helped me get through this whole situation. I mean, y'all have helped me a lot, and I'm grateful for that. Thank you. So, in closing, here's what I'll do. I know we're going to, right after this, because I saw everyone type in their ones, right after this, we're going to start up another stream because this one is dedicated to my father. Okay. We're going to start up another stream. We're going to talk about all the political stuff, the assassination attempt, or the the Demo Ranch shirt wearing mofo and the SR-25 that blew his teeth out of the back of his head. And we're going to talk about all that stuff. But before we close, I got to say this. Remember, rule number 1 is to be kind. It's so important that we're kind in everything that we do. That brief interaction that you have with somebody else could have a massive impact on their life. So just be kind. Rule number 2 is to live a life of care, compassion, contribution, give to others, because when you bless others, you become blessed, because a hand that's open to give is open to receive. Rule number 3, because we know the only way for us to defeat evil is with good men skilled in violence. Make sure that you're becoming as highly skilled in violence as you possibly can be, and be safe, be dangerous, and keep that thing on you. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we're out of here. We're going to start up a new stream. We'll be right back here in literally 10 minutes and build a team of 6 guys that you can trust, because everyone needs a fire team. I love y'all, and I'll see you on the next one. Hold on. On a real note, we take care of one another. Absolutely. 100%. I love y'all. And guys, through all this and all the political craziness going on, just remember, don't trust the government. I love y'all.
Hold on a sec. I'm going to get me a beer.